I transmigrated into a villainous male supporting character in a pampered protagonist novel. The good news is that I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth, a bona fide rich second generation. The bad news is that I'm actually the fake young master who was switched at birth. And the worst part? The entire family I ended up in has cheat abilities, almost like they're hacking in a game. The true young master, the novel's male lead, has an omniscient perspective that reveals the entire plot, and the whole family can hear his inner thoughts. According to the original storyline, I repeatedly try to frame him, but each time his omniscient viewpoint exposes my schemes. That leads everyone in the family to see through me and despise me completely. So when everyone was waiting to see if I'd try to set up Nathan once again, I, who was supposed to pretend to fall while going upstairs with my younger brother and then accuse him of tripping me, calmly stood up and said, "Sorry, I didn't eat enough this morning and got a bit hypoglycemic." Chapter 400. Transmigrated as James, the adopted son of the Wang Corporation. Because I have the rare panda blood type, I stayed in the Wang family so I could serve as an on-call blood source for their youngest daughter, Anna. Not long after, the true heir of the Wang family, Nathan, was finally found and brought home. Aside from me, the villainous supporting character, everyone in the family can hear Nathan's inner voice. According to the plot, I'm supposed to repeatedly slander him in front of Emily and Richard, claiming he's secretly hurting me. So they, and my sister, will hate him, allowing me to keep my position in the Wang family. But Nathan, with his story-given omniscient perspective, always manages to anticipate my next move, causing my credibility to crumble in my parents' eyes. On Nathan's first day home, my parents told me to show him his newly prepared room upstairs. I knew that at this point in the story, everyone in the family should already be hearing his thoughts, waiting to see if things would play out the way he predicted. I wanted to flip the plot on its head, but my body suddenly lost control, and I tumbled down the stairs. The moment I landed, I saw the disappointment in my parents' and sister's eyes. They were all waiting for me to explain myself. None of them came to help me up. Clutching my waist, I forced myself to stand and awkwardly said, "Sorry, I didn't eat enough breakfast, so I got a little dizzy." Nathan looked at me in confusion. "Aren't you supposed to say I pushed you so Emily and Richard won't be mad at me?" Emily, Richard, and my sister wore the same skeptical expressions, but I just patted the dust off my clothes and shot back, "Do you have a persecution complex or something? I said I'm just hypoglycemic." Then I looked at my sister Anna and reassured her, "Sorry, sis. I'll make sure to take better care of myself. I don't want you to worry about anything happening to me." Only then did Anna and my parents rush over to help me. 18 years ago, their only son Nathan was abducted by kidnappers and sold to a mountain village, leaving them devastated. In an attempt to ease their grief, they adopted me from an orphanage, specifically because I also have the rare panda blood type. They raised me as if I were their own child for 18 years, showering me with affection. However, there was always a purpose behind their doting. One, to groom me to become an asset to the Wang Corporation in the future, and two, to serve as a walking blood bank for Anna. Anna was born prematurely and suffers from aplastic anemia, so she needs regular care from a private doctor and a small team wherever she goes. Besides providing her with blood if necessary, I also take on the roles of her bodyguard and caretaker. That's why the Wangs have always been so protective of me, and why Anna treats me like a real older brother. Chapter 2, Sarah took my hand gently and said, "James, your health really isn't the best. From now on, you can have that big room on the first floor." In the original plot, when Nathan first returned, the family hadn't yet cleaned up a proper room for him. The original James, hoping to show everyone he had no ambitions, insisted on giving up his second-floor room to Nathan, while he himself moved into a storage room to play the victim. But now everything was different. Sarah was offering me the largest room on the first floor, the study and reading room used by her and Richard. At that moment, Nathan's inner voice started up again. How fake. James is definitely going to refuse. He'll claim he's just an outsider and will insist on moving into the storage room to play the victim. The Wang family members who could hear Nathan's thoughts all looked a bit awkward. After all, it was strange for them to hear what their biological son was really thinking. They turned to see how I'd respond. I simply smiled and accepted Sarah's offer. Thank you, Mom. I'll stay on the first floor. It'll be easier for me to come and go, and I'll be closer to my sister. If she needs anything, I'll be right here. Richard and Sarah's bedroom and Anna's room were also on the first floor, so with me moving down as well, Nathan would be the only one living upstairs. He gave me a strange look when I didn't follow the script. He grabbed my arm and demanded, "Weren't you planning to refuse and insist on the storage room? Why'd you change your mind all of a sudden?" He couldn't understand why I wasn't saying the lines from the novel. I realized only certain key plot triggers forced my actions. The words I spoke were entirely up to me. I rolled my eyes and said, "Which ear of yours heard me say I wanted to live in the storage room? We've got a perfectly good room. Why would I give it up for a storage closet?" Everyone else looked at Nathan curiously. Unable to handle the pressure, Nathan kicked me hard, knocking me to the ground. He cursed, "This isn't right. You're not even a real member of the Wang family. How dare you live under my name for all these years? And now that I'm back, you get the biggest room. You're all just trying to humiliate me. Why did you bother bringing me back at all?" He turned on Richard, Sarah, and Anna, venting his years of resentment without distinction. But really, I had nothing to do with his kidnapping. I was only adopted from the orphanage afterward. Anna pulled me up, heart aching at the sight of my fall. She glared at Nathan and snapped, "You're being completely unreasonable. You're acting like a thug, hitting people for no reason. I bet you really did push my brother James just now." Nathan, having grown up in the mountains since he was a child, hearing his long-lost younger sister call him a thug, sparked his fury. He immediately began smashing the family's decorations and ornaments. In no time, the room was a total wreck. Richard, head of the household, finally roared, "Enough, that's enough," and added, "James's health is our priority. He'll stay on the first floor. The entire second floor will be yours, Nathan, to do with as you please. Renovate it however you want. Is that fair?" Anna stared at him in anger while Sarah wiped away tears. Nathan, hearing that the entire luxurious second floor was now his, far more spacious than my single room, calmed down a bit and acted as if it was only right he should have it. Renovations soon began again. My room just needed some simple rearranging. But turning Nathan's second-floor space into an esports room, home theater, and gym was a massive project. It took more than half a month before they finally wrapped up. The noise of renovation disturbed everyone apart from Anna, who quarreled with him a few times. No one dared to say anything about it. Chapter 3. Now that Nathan had a room, his clothing situation was still dire. His clothes were tattered and worn. Seeing this, Sarah handed him a card saying, "Nathan, I used to give James and Anna an annual allowance of $1 million each year. We've owed you for the past 18 years, so to make up for it, this card has $20 million on it. You can spend it however you like." The moment Nathan heard the amount, his eyes lit up. But as soon as he realized I had received the same treatment, his face fell. Feigning indifference, he refused the card with a cold voice. "Lost familial love isn't something that can be replaced with money. I don't want it." However, his eyes stayed glued to the card, betraying his words. Anna, casually scrolling through her phone, rolled her eyes and said, "Ugh, stop acting like some fake saint. If he doesn't want it, just give it to James." Before Nathan could react, she shoved the card into my hand. His face twisted with disbelief, as if he couldn't accept that such a large sum was being handed to an outsider like me. His inner voice immediately erupted. "Fine, give it to him. Give it all to him. Do you really think James is some good person? Before long, at Anna's birthday banquet, he'll tamper with her medicine, making her collapse from anemia and hover on the brink of death. Then he'll swoop in with a self-sacrificing act, donating blood to her and completely winning over the Wang parents' trust. And once you've handed the entire Wang Corporation over to that ungrateful bastard, he'll toss you all aside like garbage. You'll be left begging on the streets." Anna, who had just placed the card in my hand, hesitated slightly after hearing this, and Richard and Sarah also started looking at me with suspicion. Calmly, I took out the bank card my parents had previously given me and handed it to Nathan. "You say I've taken your place and lived under your name for years. Now that Emily and Richard are making it up to you, you don't want it. Fine. Take my card instead. Do you want it? Nathan glared at me, but his hand shot out without hesitation, snatching the card from my fingers. Through clenched teeth, he muttered, "It was mine to begin with. Of course, you should return it." Seeing me do this, the tension in Emily and Richard's eyes eased significantly, and Anna, realizing she had almost fallen for Nathan's words, felt guilty. She pulled out her own card and said, "Brother, don't bother arguing with him. If you need money, I have some too. We can share." I smiled and ruffled Anna's hair. Honestly, I couldn't understand why the original James had wanted to harm such a kind and considerate sister. Would it really have been so bad to just be a happy, carefree freeloader? Why insist on stirring up trouble? Chapter 4, Sarah Took Us. Shopping next. According to the original plot, I was supposed to act overly enthusiastic, treating Nathan like a long-lost brother while introducing him to high-end electronics, clothes, and shoes. But the real twist? As we left the store, I would secretly slip something into Nathan's pocket, setting him up for public humiliation. As the key plot event triggered, my body acted on its own. Without control, I stealthily slipped a paycheck. Philippe watched into Nathan's pocket. I wanted to step forward and pay for it, but I couldn't move an inch. Nathan's inner voice immediately started its usual commentary. "James, you really look down on me for growing up in the mountains. Don't you? You just had to shove something unpaid into my pocket, framing me as a thief." Sarah and Anna, noticing my strange behavior, began to grow suspicious. Just then, Nathan slung his backpack over his shoulder and said, "I don't like any of these things. Let's go." He stepped toward the store's exit, and just as expected, the security alarm blared. Sarah and Anna both stared at me in shock. A store employee quickly blocked our path. "Excuse me, but could you please wait a moment? It seems an item may have left the store without being paid for." Cold sweat dripped down my back, and my heart pounded in my chest. Nathan, feigning innocence, smirked at me and said, "How should I know? If you think someone stole something, go ahead and search me. I don't mind." The employee checked his pockets and sure enough pulled out the watch, still with its price tag attached. Sarah's eyes widened in disbelief. Her hand trembled as she pointed at the watch. "That watch isn't—" Before she could finish, the store assistant cut her off, her tone indifferent. "Apologies, but this watch doesn't belong to our store. I'll return it to you. Now may we check the rest of you as well?" The watch was handed back to Nathan. His eyes went wide. Wasn't this supposed to be stolen merchandise? Why was it being returned to him? Then when they searched me, they found a diamond brooch in my pocket. So in the end, I was the one who had stolen something. The employee's expression darkened. "Sir, shoplifting is a serious offense. We may have to call the police." I had no way to explain myself, so I simply bowed my head in shame. Sarah quickly stepped in. "I'm terribly sorry. He hasn't been feeling well these past few days. He must have forgotten to pay. Our family can afford anything. There's no reason for him to steal." Since Sarah was a frequent shopper here, the staff recognized her and knew the Wangs were wealthy. It was hard to imagine a member of such a prestigious family resorting to theft. So the store assistant nodded understandingly. "It must have been an honest mistake. I'll process your payment right away. Just a moment, please." Just as we were about to settle things, Nathan blocked the employee from leaving. He pointed at me and shouted, "No! He did it on purpose!" He was trying to plant the stolen goods on me, but for some reason, he ended up keeping them himself. Don't be fooled. The store assistant hesitated, looking toward Sarah for guidance. Anna, exasperated, tugged at Nathan's sleeve. "Nathan, just drop it already." But Nathan wasn't done. He pulled out the watch from his pocket, the price tag still dangling. "And what about this? If that brooch was meant as a gift for Anna, what was this watch for? Wasn't it supposed to frame me?" The murmuring crowd around us turned their judgmental gazes toward me. Nathan grabbed my arm tightly and pressed. "Come on, admit it. Weren't you going to accuse me of stealing? Say it." The whispers spread. "Unbelievable. 2 rich kids stealing from a store. What a disgrace. They already have everything. Why would they do this?" The rumors were quickly ruining our reputations. Finally, Sarah snapped. "Enough, Nathan." Seizing the moment, I lowered my head and confessed. Mom, I'm sorry, I took the brooch. Anna's birthday is coming up, and I wanted to surprise her with a gift. Sarah and Anna exchanged glances, suddenly remembering that I had given my bank card to Nathan earlier that morning. It made sense. I had no money left to buy gifts. Nathan scoffed. Oh, what a brilliant move, James. So the brooch was your sweet little secret present for Anna. And the watch? Wasn't that supposed to frame me? Sarah finally lost her patience. Right there in the store, she slapped Nathan across the face. Enough. That watch was James's birthday present. We all picked it out together for him. He never even wore it. He didn't even remove the tag. If he put it in your pocket, it was probably because he wanted to give it to you. How could you think so horribly of your own brother? Nathan looked at me in disbelief. His expression twisted into a sneer as he nodded. Fine. Well played, James. You got me good today. Just wait, I won't forget this. With that, he threw the watch onto the ground and stormed out. In reality, I had been carrying the watch from the moment we left home. When the plot triggered, my body moved on its own. If I had to steal something, no matter what, then I'd rather take responsibility myself than let the blame fall on Nathan. Back home, after hearing the full story, neither Emily, Richard, nor Anna blamed me. Instead, they quietly handed me the bank card Nathan had refused earlier. Richard sighed and said, James, no matter the reason, you must never steal again. A bad reputation is hard to shake. Since Nathan doesn't want this card, you should use it instead. I happily accepted it. 20 million. I was overjoyed. Chapter 5. Nathan had started to sense that the plot wasn't unfolding as expected. He cornered me alone, his expression full of doubt and frustration. James, he demanded, you wanted to fall down the stairs and frame me for pushing you, right? At the mall, you tried to steal something and pin it on me too, didn't you? Why did you change your mind? I met his angry gaze, my voice steady. Let me ask you first. Why do you automatically assume I'm the bad guy? His mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. In his mind, the answer was simple. According to the plot, I was the villain. A malicious supporting character destined to take over the Wang family's fortune while he, with his knowledge of the storyline and the family's ability to hear his thoughts, was supposed to be the beloved protagonist who prevented it all from happening. His jaw clenched. If you're really not a bad person, then prove it to me at school tomorrow. With that, he stormed off. I sighed, feeling a headache. Coming on. I had almost forgotten, unlike at home where the original James played the pitiful victim to bully Nathan, at school things were much more blatant. The original James had openly isolated and tormented Nathan. How was I supposed to handle this? Now? Chapter 6. The next day at school, our homeroom teacher introduced Nathan to the elite class. As soon as the introductions were over, Nathan started his inner monologue again. The moment I head back to my seat, James is definitely going to pull my chair away, making me fall and embarrass myself. The classmates who could hear Nathan's thoughts exchanged bewildered glances. He hadn't spoken a word, yet they could hear everything in their heads. Still, curiosity got the better of them. They turned toward me, waiting to see if I'd actually do it. And just as Nathan predicted, my foot moved on its own, hooking the chair away right as he was about to sit. Down, I quickly spoke up. Wait, don't sit yet. The teacher and classmates who had just seen me pull away the chair looked visibly disappointed, but hearing my warning, they became puzzled. I took my sleeve and wiped off the dust on the chair before smiling. It was dirty. Let me clean it off first. Relief washed over the room. Oh, Nathan, your brother really takes care of you, one classmate commented. The teacher nodded approvingly. That's right. Looks like you're being well taken care of now that you're back in the Wang family. Your brother is looking out for you. Even the teacher agreed. Nathan stared at me suspiciously. You were definitely going to pull the chair away to make me fall. Why did you change your mind? I shook my head and feigned innocence. I have no idea what you're talking about. You misunderstood me. Since he hadn't actually fallen, he had no evidence to accuse me in front of everyone. Though furious, he had no choice but to sit down and let the lesson begin. But then his thoughts started up again. I don't have proof now, But just wait. During break, James's cronies will pull a love letter from my desk and claim I wrote it to Lisa, the school's most popular girl. They'll humiliate me, saying I'm a toad lusting after a swan, and Lisa will hate me on my first day. The students who heard his thoughts frowned in concern. Meanwhile, I was too busy feeling relieved that I had avoided disaster earlier to notice the way the class was looking at me. When the break bell rang, my two closest buddies approached me. One of them shot me a knowing look and whispered, "James, it's all set. Just give the signal and we'll do it." That's when it hit me. This was another scripted event from the original storyline. This time it involved Lisa, our school's resident beauty and a high society heiress. Many rich kids tried to impress her, hoping to win her favor. Again, my body betrayed me. I nodded, but at the same time, my mouth blurted, "No, don't do it." It was useless. Just like in the original plot, my two friends flanked Nathan and grinned. "Nathan, what did you bring on your first day? Hey, what's this in your desk?" With exaggerated flair, they pulled out an envelope and read it aloud. "Lisa, the first time I saw you, I felt like I had seen you in a dream. I like you and really hope we can be friends. P.S. Wang family's young master." Silence filled the room. I stiffened in my seat, feeling every pair of eyes land on me. Before Nathan returned, Wang family's young master had always referred to me. But now, with Nathan back, the title naturally pointed to him. Realization dawned upon my classmates. Oh my God! Nathan's thoughts were right all along. I can't believe James would actually do this. Why would he? He already took Nathan's identity for years, and now he's trying to humiliate him too. Lisa frowned and walked over. Without hesitation, she snatched the letter and threw it in the trash. Her icy gaze landed on me. It's his first day. Why would Nathan do something like this? I hope whoever is behind this nonsense knows when to stop. Nathan, finally witnessing a moment from the original plot unfolding as expected, became overwhelmed. Tears streamed down his face. The class buzzed with sympathy for him, and their resentment toward me grew. One student scoffed, "James, you're seriously too much. He's the real Wang heir, and you're just some outsider. Yeah, you've already lived off his family for years, and now you're jealous of him too." Their words cut like knives. Drowning in accusations, I made a split-second decision. "I wrote that letter," I admitted. The classroom fell silent for a beat, then erupted into chaos. Now that I had admitted it, the class had even more reason to attack me. But I wasn't done. I was going to ask Nathan to pass it to Lisa for me, I added quickly. But since everyone already knows about it... Taking a deep breath, I walked over to the trash, fished out the letter, and stood in front of Lisa. I steadied myself, locked eyes with her, and said, "Lisa, I like you. Will you be my girlfriend?" The entire room exploded. No way! James actually likes Lisa. I almost thought Nathan was getting framed, but it turns out James was serious. Even students from the neighboring classes rushed over, eager to witness the commotion. "What's going on? Someone's confessing. Come watch." The classroom became so crowded that no one could move. Lisa's face turned as red as a tomato. She had plenty of admirers, but no one had ever confessed to her so publicly before. The crowd began chanting, "Say yes! Say yes!" Meanwhile, Nathan realized something was off. He slammed his desk and shouted, "Shut up! That's not what's happening! Lisa, don't be fooled! He doesn't really like you!" Some students frowned at him. What's Nathan's problem? Does he just want attention? Lisa hesitated and glanced at me with suspicion. Is that true? To prove myself, I started listing everything I knew about her. You love crabapple flowers and hate roses. You prefer white over black. You enjoy baking but dislike spicy food. After hearing this, the class collectively gasped. Nathan, being new to school, knew nothing about Lisa's preferences, but I did, and to them, that meant I was genuine. Wow, James really does love Lisa, someone sighed. Yeah, I wish my boyfriend knew me that well. Lisa's face was practically steaming. She stammered, I'm sorry, I don't feel that way. Let's just be friends. I let out a relieved sigh. Crisis averted. Unfortunately, all the noise had attracted a teacher who promptly dragged me to the office. There, I was scolded about focusing on my studies and avoiding distractions like dating. I could only smile bitterly and nod along. What else could I do? I was just trying to fight fire with fire. Chapter 7. After everything that had happened, Nathan declared that he never wanted to return to school again. He insisted on studying at home, self-learning at his own pace. Our parents, unable to change his mind, ended up hiring several private tutors for one-on-one lessons. But instead of studying, Nathan spent most of his time in his esports room playing games. I sighed, resting my chin on my hand. With Nathan refusing to go to school, those ridiculous school bullying plotlines would never unfold. That was a relief. Yet even as I relaxed, my gaze drifted toward Anna. Would that future event still happen? That was the real concern. As the tense atmosphere of studying took over, time flew by, and soon the college entrance exams were over. Thanks to the Wang family's excellent educational resources, my grades were consistently top tier. Getting into a good university would be effortless. Nathan, on the other hand, was terrible at academics, but because of his protagonist halo, his dedication to gaming paid off. He entered an international esports tournament solo and won first place. Big corporations lined up, eager to sign him. With his newfound success, our parents were overjoyed, and even Anna looked at him with a bit of admiration. For the first time, I found myself genuinely envious of him. Without those absurd plot events forcing conflicts, I wasn't sure where my future in this world was headed. How could I live freely and happily here? As I pondered my next steps, an unexpected guest arrived, Lisa. She sat in our living room holding documents for an international research program. Sarah greeted her with a warm smile and served her tea. Her visit stunned everyone. The Liu family's wealth and influence far surpassed the Wang family by several levels. Many people had tried to curry favor with them, but never had the esteemed Miss Liu personally visited the Wang residence. And yet here she was. Nathan, eavesdropping from the side, was brimming with excitement. Of course, I'm the protagonist of this world. Plus, I just won a global esports championship. It's only natural that the heroine is here for me. She's pretty and rich. Fine, I'll entertain her for a while. His smug expression didn't last long. Lisa turned to me and said, James, I need a partner for this research program. You have great qualifications. Would you like to join me? Nathan's face instantly darkened. His expression twisted in shock. Wait, you came for James? Lisa ignored him and kept her eyes on me, waiting for my answer. Anna was equally stunned. You're inviting my brother James? Lisa nodded at her politely. Anna's expression stiffened. Even our parents seemed unsure whether to be pleased or concerned. I scratched my cheek awkwardly. Nathan, on the other hand, was absolutely livid. He's just an adopted son of the Wang family. Without them, he's nothing. Why would you invite him? He snapped. Sarah gently tugged at Nathan's sleeve, embarrassed by his lack of decorum. This was Miss Liu, after all, someone of immense status, and here he was shouting at her in their own home. Yet Lisa remained unbothered. She responded calmly, Who I choose to invite is my own decision. It has nothing to do with you. Nathan clenched his fists in frustration. Inside, his thoughts were boiling with rage. You ungrateful woman. You'll regret this. Anna's birthday is coming soon. James still has to tamper with her medicine, putting her life at risk so he can heroically save her. There's no way he'll leave for some research trip. Just wait. Anna won't live much longer. His inner voice echoed in the silent room. Everyone froze. And just like that, my body reacted. I shook my head and declined, saying, Thank you, Lisa, but my sister needs me. I can't join you. Lisa blinked, in surprise. She hadn't expected me to refuse. Anna looked conflicted. Sarah, her expression turning serious, spoke firmly. James, as your mother, I'm making this decision for you. Go with Lisa. You can return after Anna's birthday. Richard nodded in agreement. You've taken care of Anna all these years without a break. This is a good opportunity. Take it. We'll handle things here. Despite their reassurances, I remained motionless. I couldn't nod, I couldn't shake my head. Anna opened her mouth as if she wanted to say something but ultimately lowered her gaze, her expression unreadable. A heavy silence filled the living room. Everyone seemed lost in their own thoughts. Chapter 8. Despite everything, the Wang family's private doctor still drew 600 milliliters of blood from me before Anna's birthday banquet, just in case she had an unexpected bout of anemia. And then, before I could recover, I was forcibly escorted to the airport to meet up with Lisa. On the plane, my head felt heavy, my vision hazy. The Wang family had sent me abroad, preventing me from attending Anna's birthday banquet. In a way, I had finally escaped the original plot. That meant the crucial scene where Anna's medicine was switched wouldn't happen. I was finally free from the storyline's grip. My body and actions were once again my own. I should have felt relieved, but an uneasy feeling lingered in my chest. As I stared blankly out the window, Lisa's voice pulled me back. "Do you know why I chose you as my partner for this research program?" she asked. I turned to look at her. Those clear, innocent eyes held no malice. Grinning, I teased, "Could it be that you've secretly had a crush on me all along?" She chuckled and shook her head, but didn't deny it outright. Then she leaned in slightly and said, "I didn't bring any bodyguards or assistants with me this time. Let's make a deal." Several hours later, we arrived safely at our destination. I had assumed that attending a research program would be exhausting, filled with seminars and projects. But instead, all I had to do was accompany Lisa as she ate, drank, and enjoyed herself. Unexpectedly, Anna showed up. At that moment, Lisa and I were dining in a restaurant when Anna approached us, looking nervous and uncertain. "Brother, I'm sorry. Am I interrupting?" I frowned in confusion. Before I could respond, Lisa had already stood up to welcome her. Come. You must be James's sister, right? Join us," she said enthusiastically, signaling for a waiter to bring another chair. But Anna declined, her sharp gaze locking onto me. "I don't want to face the birthday banquet alone," she admitted. "Without you there, I'm scared." I stiffened. What was wrong with this ridiculous world? I had thought I'd successfully escaped the crucial plot event, but now Anna had chased me all the way here to bring me back. I wanted to ask her, "Aren't you afraid Nathan was right? Aren't you afraid I might swap your medicine and kill you?" But the moment I tried, my jaw locked, and no sound came out. The storyline's grip on me still wasn't completely gone. The most I could manage was a single question. "Why?" Anna lowered her gaze, her voice soft as she revealed the truth. The Wang family's purpose for hosting the banquet wasn't just to celebrate her birthday, it was to find her a suitable fiancé for an arranged marriage. This man would need to accept her chronic illness, her frail health, and most importantly, the fact that she couldn't bear children. Since such a match was unlikely to be found among the elite families, the Wangs had started considering candidates from less powerful backgrounds, someone who would be grateful enough for the alliance that they wouldn't mind her condition. Anna bit her lip before finally voicing the decision she had been suppressing for a long time. "If that's the case," she said firmly, "then I would rather stay with you forever." Her voice was steady, but there was a vulnerability in her eyes. "I know you won't abandon me. I know you won't hurt me. Right, brother?" Beside us, Lisa's expression froze in shock. Even I was left speechless. So this was another hidden subplot in the novel. No wonder the original James had acted out so desperately, trying to break free from the Wang family's grasp. I wanted to refuse. But the moment a key character appeared, my body betrayed me once again. To my horror, I found myself nodding. Lisa stared at me, completely stunned. Her disbelief was clear in her eyes as she watched me leave with Anna. Chapter. And on the day of Anna's birthday, my unexpected return to the Wang estate was met with shock and disappointment. Richard's face darkened as he scolded me. "Why did you come back? Didn't we tell you to stay abroad until after the banquet?" Sarah, clearly on edge, immediately pulled Anna away from me. "Anna, don't get too close to your brother," she warned. "And don't worry about the medicine. We've already had the private doctor prepare a fresh batch." But Anna refused to be separated from me. She pulled away from Sarah's grasp and retrieved a small medical kit I had once prepared for her. Mom, Dad, I want to prove to you that my brother loves me more than anyone in this world. He would never hurt me, she declared. Without hesitation, she grabbed the medicine and swallowed it. Richard and Sarah rushed forward to stop her, but it was too late. Nathan watched with amusement, his inner voice echoing through the minds of those who could hear it. Ha, that idiot Anna is finally going to die. Now you two old fools will finally see who the real Wang bloodline belongs to. But Anna showed no signs of distress. Alarmed, the Wang parents called the private doctor to examine the pills. To everyone's shock, the medication had indeed been switched. But it wasn't poison. It was just ordinary vitamin supplements. I patted my chest in relief. Luckily, I had anticipated this and prepared accordingly. Nathan, unwilling to accept the outcome, grabbed the private doctor by the collar and punched him. "You're lying!" he roared. "James must have put poison in there." The Wang parents, shaken, turned to me with hesitant eyes. "James?" Richard's voice wavered. "If you didn't plan to harm your sister, why did you switch her medicine? Was it just to go against Nathan?" Sarah asked, equally confused. I sighed. I couldn't reveal the truth about the storyline, no matter how much I wanted to. Instead, I made my own request. I want to leave the Wang family. The moment I spoke, Anna let out a piercing scream. "No! I won't allow it!" She clutched her head, trembling violently. Then all of a sudden, she collapsed. Her body, already weak, couldn't handle the emotional distress. The lack of oxygen in her blood caused her to faint on the spot. The scene spiraled into chaos. The birthday banquet, which had been meant to celebrate her, ended abruptly. I never expected that simply requesting to leave the Wang family would provoke such an extreme reaction from Anna. Later that night, the Wang parents spoke with Anna for a long time before calling me into a private meeting. They sat solemnly in the study, a stack of documents in front of them. Richard adjusted his glasses and sighed. "James, you're a good kid. We don't approve of you constantly talking about leaving." Sarah's voice was gentle but firm. "That's right. We've raised you for so many years, and the Wang Corporation's future depends on you. You can't just walk away." I stayed silent. I had once thought the role of the villainous supporting character was a simple one: to make trouble, fail, and get cast aside. But now I realized that my life as the fake young master was far more complicated than that. Being adopted into this wealthy family had given me comfort and privilege, but it had also taken away my freedom. Then Richard opened the document folder in front of him. It was a marriage agreement. He looked me in the eye and said, "Anna has already explained everything to us. Since you don't intend to harm her, we're willing to trust you. If you take care of Anna for the rest of her life, we will give you 20% of the Wang Corporation's shares." Sarah gently took my hand. "As long as you continue to support the Wang family and care for Anna, we will always be a loving family." I stared at them. To me, Anna was just my little sister, someone I had grown up with and protected. But the powerful force of the storyline wouldn't let me refuse. No matter how much I wanted to reject the offer, my body wouldn't let me. Instead, I found myself nodding in agreement. I had no choice. For now, I could only pretend to go along with it. I would have to find a way to escape later. Chapter 10. After the Wang elders left, I planned to slip out of the estate under the cover of night. But they had anticipated my move. Guards had been stationed throughout the mansion, ensuring I couldn't escape. My phone had also been confiscated, cutting me off from the outside world. Frustrated, I paced my room, trapped. That's when Nathan unexpectedly came to see me. "James," he drawled, crossing his arms. "I can tell. You're not the same James from before." Raising an eyebrow, he smirked. "You need to remember I'm the protagonist of this world. You're nothing more than a stepping stone for me." His visit didn't surprise me. I already knew I was the villain of this story, destined to clash with him. But now, in this twisted situation, he might actually be the only person I could use. He scoffed. "You've been pretending to be a good guy, desperately clinging to the Wang family. And for what? You'll never be more than Anna's personal blood bank. As long as she's alive, you'll never be free." I let out a cold laugh. What are you here to help me, Nathan? He grinned wickedly and stepped closer. Pulling a small pillbox from his pocket, he held it up between his fingers. You should have just followed your original script. Quietly, poison Anna. If she's dead, the Wang family will finally fear you enough to kick you out. He smirked. And when that happens, I'll help you escape abroad. You'll finally get the freedom you want. I stared at him, stunned. So this was how little he cared about his own sister. Was I really supposed to accept that the only way to break free was to follow the original script and become a killer? The wedding day. The Wang family, not wanting to delay things, swiftly arranged the wedding. On the day of the ceremony, Anna sat in the dressing room, her face glowing with happiness as she had her makeup done. Dressed in an elegant white gown, she looked every bit the radiant bride. I had tried countless times to throw away the switched pillbox, but I couldn't. This scene wasn't part of the original novel. The real Anna was already long dead by this point. Was this my chance to break free? Or was I still bound to the story's control? With a heavy heart, I found myself handing Anna the poisoned pills. Maybe I have to go along with the plot first before I can finally break free. Nathan, as Anna's biological brother and my best man, straightened her veil. With an unmistakable sneer, he murmured, "Congratulations, you got what you wanted. Enjoy your wedding. This will be the most unforgettable moment of your life." His words dripped with sarcasm, but Anna simply smiled at him before turning to take my arm. "Brother," she said cheerfully, "the ceremony is about to start. Let's go." As we reached the grand entrance of the banquet hall, the Wang parents were already waiting. Their private doctor approached, reminding her, "Miss, please take your medicine before we begin, just to be safe." Anna obediently opened the pillbox. I swallowed hard, unable to move even an inch. Then a voice suddenly rang out, "Wait! That medicine has been tampered with! Don't take it!" It was Lisa. The Wang family had deliberately kept the wedding low profile, inviting only close relatives and a handful of business associates. How had she even gotten in? The moment she spoke, the Wang parents' expressions darkened as they turned to me. Nathan, shockingly, stepped in to defend me. "Don't listen to this woman," he scoffed. "Didn't James already prove he wouldn't?" Hurt Anna? If he really wanted her dead, he would have done it last time. His argument almost convinced them. But Lisa wasn't bluffing. She snatched the pillbox from Anna's hands and passed it to the Wang family's private doctor. Seconds later, the doctor's face paled. "The pills, they've been swapped. If Miss Anna had taken these, she would have died." Anna's breath hitched. Tears welled up in her eyes as she turned to me. Her voice trembled. "Brother, were you really going to kill me?" I didn't answer. Instead, I turned my back on them. "Mom, Dad, I'm sorry," I said flatly. "But I will not marry Anna. You should listen to Nathan. I'm just an adopted outsider. Keeping me here will only bring disaster upon your family." Nathan's jaw dropped. This wasn't the plan. I was supposed to kill Anna, not walk away from everything. His eyes darted toward Lisa before something clicked in his mind. "You stole my phone," he suddenly blurted. The realization hit him like a truck. That night, when I had taken the poisoned pills from him, I had also swiped his phone. Using it, I had sent a message to Lisa. Her response had been simple. "I accept your deal." Once she confirmed, I deleted the messages and tossed the phone into the garden fountain. By exposing the poison, Lisa had completely shattered the main storyline. The grip of the plot had finally loosened. I was free to act on my own again. Ignoring Nathan's outburst, I turned back to Richard and Sarah. "I've already made an agreement with Lisa," I told them. "I'll work for the Liu family for 5 years. In exchange, they'll compensate you for all the money you spent raising me." The Wang parents' faces were unreadable. Anna was still crying. I sighed. "I'm sorry," I said, my voice calm but firm. "I'm a selfish person. When it comes to my marriage, my future, I want to make my own choices." I turned to leave with Lisa, but Anna suddenly lunged forward and hugged me tightly. "You can't go," she whispered desperately. "I don't believe you wanted to kill me. If you did, why did you let Lisa stop it?" I pried her arms off me and kept walking. but she wasn't done. She wiped her tears and said, "The Liu family isn't some paradise. They're just an even bigger mess. She's only using you." She wasn't wrong. In this world, I had no real power or status. No matter where I went, I'd always be used by someone. But at least now I had the choice to be used by someone else. No matter how slim my chances of freedom were, I'd fight for them. Just as I was about to leave, the Wang parents blocked my way. "Do you think the Wang family is some cheap inn?" Richard snapped. "You can't just come and go as you please." But then Lisa spoke up. "He's a Liu now," she reminded them smoothly. "If I recall, the Wang family still relies on Liu resources for several key projects. Are you really willing to sever those ties over an adopted son?" The room fell silent. The Wang parents hesitated. They exchanged glances, clearly weighing their options. A few seconds later, they finally stepped aside. Before I left, they gave me one last warning. "Don't think you can just disappear after 5 years," Richard said darkly. "You'll always be tied to the Wang family, no matter how far you run." I turned back one final time, locking eyes with both Nathan and Anna. Then, without another word, I walked away. Chapter extra 5 years later. During these 5 years, I stayed abroad with Lisa while she completed both her master's and PhD degrees. Meanwhile, I built my own company from the ground up, gradually establishing my own influence and financial independence. When it was finally time for me to return to my homeland, Lisa came to see me off at the airport. She looked at me with that familiar, teasing glint in her eyes. "Do you remember what I asked you on the plane 5 years ago?" she said. I smirked. "I already told you. It's because you secretly liked me." She covered her mouth and laughed lightly, just as she had back then. But this time, she gave me a real answer. "It's because you were the first person brave enough to break the rules," she said. "All those people who tried to pursue me, they only saw the Liu family's power. They wanted what was behind me, not me." She smiled faintly, her gaze thoughtful. "The Liu family is a deep and dangerous swamp," she continued. "Looking back, I know now. I chose the right person 5 years ago. Thank you." As she spoke, the 30-centimeter scar on my back began to itch again, a bitter reminder of the brutal inheritance wars within the Liu family. Behind the glamorous facade of elite families, heirs fought in the shadows for more power, resorting to manipulation, violence, and bloodshed. None of this was something that Nathan, a spoiled rich kid who only cared about gaming and threw tantrums at the slightest inconvenience, could ever have handled. I exhaled and adjusted my bag. "I'm going now." With that, I parted ways with Lisa and boarded my flight home. Back in the Wang family, the Liu family had always kept tabs on the Wang family's movements over the past 5 years. After I left, things took an unexpected turn. Nathan was banished from the Wang family when his plot to poison Anna was finally exposed. Stripped of his wealth and status, he had nowhere to go and ended up returning to the remote mountains where he once lived. Anna, on the other hand, believed I had left because I admired strong, ambitious women like Lisa. Instead of sulking, she channeled her emotions into building her own empire. She took control of the Wang Corporation, expanding it into a powerhouse far beyond what it had been. As her career flourished, her health also improved, and she no longer clung to naive romantic fantasies. Ironically, my absence had allowed her to become the best version of herself. With my luggage in tow, I set out to travel across the country, exploring its breathtaking landscapes and rediscovering life on my own terms. For the first time in a long time, I was truly free.